our state attorney, our public defender, and the Chiefs of Police Association of Miami-Dade County. And they put it together and put it in all of the schools for all of the children. And members of the school's police teach these children how to respond if the police ever stops them. I have a real concern with Michael Brown's case, and that concern is with the state attorney. And I really have a real concern that the grand jury may not get all of the evidence that they need. My father served on the grand jury for many years, and I do know that the state attorney has so much sway over the grand jury. So when my heart broke, even worse than it did when he was killed, when we realized that the state attorney would be the one that would send the case to the grand jury, that would oversee the case. And he had a history that no one wants to have. His father was a police officer, and he was killed by a black youth. And if that's not enough to recuse yourself from the grand jury, I cannot understand, from the case in general, to my colleagues, I cannot understand what else could be the case. You remember Trayvon Martin, who came from my district, and he was killed, and the first thing happened was the state attorney didn't want to recuse himself, but the governor removed him. So I'm really calling on Governor Nixon tonight to remove the state attorney, to remove the prosecutor from this case, because otherwise Michael Brown may not get a fair trial, and he deserves justice under the law. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'll continue to pray for his family, because this is not a good time in America for young black boys. They're watching, they're paying attention to this case. People all across the world are watching what's going to happen in Ferguson. And I'm afraid of what happen if the verdict, or if he is not even, if the police, Wilson is not even indicted. Thank you.
From Florida, and thank you for providing those the information about the resources that are available to young people to know their rights, to understand how they need to approach the situation. I just had the privilege of participating at a Know Your Rights town hall that was hosted in my congressional district by the National Bar Association, the Las Vegas chapter of the National Bar Association, and we had approximately 100 attendees, many of them young people who do need this information. Regardless of whether there's a parent in the house or not, every young person needs to understand their rights and the best practices on how to interact with law enforcement when and if that does occur. So we want to encourage young people to know their rights, and I think working with the Congressional Black Caucus, we will find opportunities to post that information, to share it with organizations in our local communities to help connect young people and adults alike so that we can improve on the relationship between police officers and our community. I'd like to now turn to our next member for the Congressional Black Caucus for this hour, the gentleman from Texas. I was very delighted to join with him and other members at the funeral to pay our respects to the family and the community. So I would like to now yield time to the gentleman from Texas, Representative Al Green.
Thank you very much, Representative Horsford. I'm honored to be with you tonight. Nevada's 4th is most capably and competently represented by your presence in Congress. I'm also grateful to Mr. Jeffries, who represents New York's 8th. The two of you have done a stellar job in hosting these special order hours. I am grateful to the President of the United States of America, the Honorable Barack Obama, for appointing the Honorable Eric Holder as Attorney General. I'm grateful because Mr. Holder is intelligent. He has the intellect necessary to comprehend the breadth of these issues. But I'm also grateful in that he is a person with courage. And I'm grateful because intellect without courage can be intellect wasted. His intellect is not wasted. He has had the courage to take on the challenges such as what we have with Ferguson. The Justice Department is there. They're investigating. And there's good reason for the Justice Department to be in Ferguson. The Justice Department is in Ferguson because Ferguson is 67% black, and only one African American is on a city council of 7 if you count the mayor. 67% black. Police department is 83% white. 3 blacks out of 53 officers. Good reason to be in Ferguson. School board, 1 member black of 7. Of the officers that are on the police department or were on the police department, 1 of them is on city council. Good reason to be in Ferguson. 5 officers or former officers, either they're on the department now or not, have been alleged to be involved with some sort of civil rights violation. Accused, allegation of choking and hog-tying a young person. Another circumstance wherein a person was tased and died afterwards. Another circumstance wherein a person was beaten by a peace officer and then charged with destroying public property when he bled on the officer's clothing. Good reason to be in Ferguson. A prosecutor who has decided that he will not recuse himself, notwithstanding his father's tragic circumstance. Father died at the hands of a person who happened to have been African American, who was a peace officer, by the way, his father was. Refuses to recuse himself. And he refuses to have a go to a grand jury. This case could be heard by way of a preliminary hearing after an arrest warrant has been issued. And I submit to you that there is sufficient probable cause to indict this officer or to arrest this officer, more appropriately, in any jurisdiction in the United States of America. There's probable cause to arrest. Then you would go to a preliminary hearing and you would have the transparency. The world would hear what the witnesses have to say. There is good reason for the Justice Department to be in Ferguson. So I'm honored to be here tonight to stand with my colleagues, especially the Honorable Lacey Clay, who has been a real champion on behalf of this family. I'm honored here because I understand that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And injustice in Ferguson, unchecked, can lead to injustice in Houston. I think that the President of the United States of America made a wise choice when he chose the Honorable Eric Holder. And I pray that the natural order of things will not continue to be circumvented. Mothers and fathers should not, N-O-T, should not bury their children. We must circumvent this kind of behavior. Thank God for you, Mr. President. I thank you, sir, for yielding me the time.
I thank the gentleman from Texas for his comments.